Is this Moollon P Classic bass really as good as an early 1960s Fender Precision Bass, the iconic instrument that it was designed to replicate? This is my new Moollon P Classic bass in Sonic Blue. In fact, it's so new that this is the first time that I'll be playing it. And this is my all-original 1962 Fender Precision Bass in Fiesta Red. Now, there are some differences between these two instruments. The Moollon is strung with round wound strings. They're DR pure blue round wounds in the 45 gauge, and this Fender is strung with flat wounds, D'Addario chromes in the 40 gauge, and these strings have been on this bass for more than 10 years. Everything that you're about to hear is completely void of processing, so there's no EQ, no compression, nothing. And in addition to some blind sound tests, you're going to get the chance to hear these instruments in the track, because as good as any bass sounds on its own, the real test of an instrument is how it records and how well it sits in the track. There's also a completely free PDF for this lesson. It's got all of the bass lines that I'm about to play notated in both standard notation and tab, and I've included extended versions of all the backing tracks that I'll be using. You'll find the link to that in the description below. Feel free to grab a copy, and if you enjoy the video, please feel free to give it a like and support the channel by subscribing. This Moollon pretty much shares the same specifications as my vintage Fender, and I'm not going to bore you with the details because you can find them everywhere. They're also in the PDF, but really quickly, the body's older, the neck is maple, the fingerboard on this Moollon is Macassar ebony. That's the modern available equivalent to the Brazilian rosewood used on the Fender. All of the dimensions in terms of the radius, the width, the string spacing and the weight are identical. If you pop them on a strap, this Moollon balances perfectly, whereas the Fender's got a hint of neck dive. The biggest difference though is probably the value. So this cost me just under 3,000 English pounds, whereas the current value of the Fender I'd estimate at about 10,000 pounds. So the Fender is roughly 3 times the cost of the Moollon, but does that mean it sounds 3 times better? Well, we'll see. Now, there are some small differences. Now, this Moollon is made incredibly well. Despite it being mostly handmade, the modern manufacturing process is really obvious. So this neck is rock solid. It's got a really even response across the entire fingerboard. There's not even a hint of any dead notes. It's brilliant. Now, that's not to say that the Fender is flawed in any way, because this particular bass is absolutely awesome, but there are some slight differences in the feel and sound and response of some notes as you move around the fingerboard. That said, it's 100% solid. I've never had to adjust the neck once in over 10 years. It's so well played in and settled, I don't think it's ever going to move. Now I'm going to do some blind sound tests, and if you're impatient and you can't wait to hear what these two great basses sound like in a track context in different styles of music, just move forward using the timestamp. Each one of these playthroughs is going to feature 3 sound clips, the first with the tone full up, the second with the tone halfway up, and the third with the tone completely off. I'm going to start by playing with my fingers. This time I'm going to play with my thumb. This time I'm using a pick. I'm using my Carol K pick, which is a little bit darker sounding than some picks. And again, I'm starting with the tone fully up. And now for a bit of slapping. This is the first time that I've ever slapped this bass, and absolutely the first time that I've ever tried to slap on a bass with flat wound strings. So here goes. So this thumb rest's getting in the way, but give me a minute, I'm just going to take it off. Here are some sound bites of these two basses recorded. I'm playing in different styles, using some different tone settings, and I'm also using a variety of different playing techniques too. Of course, I'm not offering my opinion on the sound of these two fine instruments because that would be a subjective opinion and you can make up your own mind. The Moollon's good, it's very good. It sounds like a P Bass, feels like a P Bass. It's got a brilliant neck and it's punchy and records really well. On the other hand, the Fender's got more than 60 years of wear and tear, and the neck feels absolutely incredible. It might not quite have the on-point sound of the Moollon, but it's got tons of mojo, and it's got that classic honk and doink that all great P basses have. Every note sounds fat and warm and sits beautifully in any track. I like both of these basses. I wouldn't have bought them if I hadn't. On one hand, you've got the Moollon that's really well made and plays and sounds great, and on the other hand, the Fender, which is the real deal and has just got character in spades. But is the Fender really 3 times better than the Moollon? Well, of course not. But if I had to pick just one, for me, it would absolutely be the Fender. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.